3-page essay. What happened at work? It was stressful. No. It was busy. I'm not accepting it. Then what then again? That is why you said, when I got to Confanoche, the entrance, I met an old woman. Then the old woman asked me a question. I went to the ward. You have to explain everything. That is how it. When you were singing, you thought, oh, this one is nothing. It becomes a burden. I remember a friend was telling me that for her, she never used a water closet. Things were very hard for them. So you go to read him, so you know that when you're on it, you see everything clear. Then by her first exposure was when she came to the university. That is when she started using the WC. So, in fact, even at first, she was not feeling comfortable. And we had a bush around. She could say that sometimes, though the lavatory is empty, she bypass and go to the bush to feel very comfortable. When she sits on the WC, she feels heavy. You see, and now she's married and she has come to her matrimonial home and she's supposed to use these things. It became a challenge. At a point that sometimes she has to use a polythene bag aside there. In the washroom, the WC is there. Use it aside. When she finished, then she will put and flash. And one day the husband got to know. And he was so mad. Which lady does this? My dear, which lady does this? But as we are saying, because of the different orientation we are coming from, a similar example is the mood too. For me too, when I cook the rice, I also like that under. You see, what is too now the frabo musana and what's and all that energy, that love. But my husband too like the top. I say kakrabi ebem kra obey ya day every move. So if you don't observe your partner very well and critically, knows what he or she wants, you might think that it's a problem. And sometimes that is our mistake that we do as couples. We don't really observe what interests my partner. How is she? Who is he? If you are able to answer these questions, then that burden that we are talking about, 50% is what? Offloaded. And there's one thing we should notice in marriage is that some issues we manage, some we change, others too you have to dwell with it for eternity. These are the three. Some you manage it. Some the person has to change. There are things so you have no control that you should accept whoever she is and do that. I remember for me, when I was in secondary school to the university, I would lay in my bed, and because I love reading, I will keep my books at the bedside. So it will be like if I'm using a single-size bed, half of it is occupied with books arranged. And when I married, I was doing that. And it's not me, because I'm in academia. So anytime I wake up from sleep, then I'm supposed to read something. So immediately it's just along my bed, I will take it. So imagine as a married woman, you fill half of your bed with books. How is your husband going to even enjoy you? And it became a problem. He was so mad, but gradually when I come back, he got me a book rack. So one day, immediately I came, I saw in my room that there is a rack that he has arranged my books. And this was enough communication. And I realized that he didn't like that. When you want to enjoy, you have to push all the books somewhere. And it was work. Amen.
Amen. I want us to talk about finances. In what time do we say that our money is our money? In what time do we say that my money is our money and her money is our money? That no one has the right over his or her money.
Okay, so for this particular question, I would want to start from a point so that we understand certain things from my perspective. So you read the Bible and Bible says the man will leave and will cleave. So when there is cleaving, you become one. That's my understanding. This oneness is like you dropping a bag of Lipton in a hot water. When you do that, you realize that the properties in the Lipton, it's formed with the H2O. So it becomes one and it's inseparable. Like you cannot separate that mixture. Okay. Thus, when we come here and we say that we come and we have the marital vow, that's who we've become as couple. So marriage really starts it doesn't start with two individuals. It starts with oneness. So when you are pronounced husband and wife, you are like the Lipton that has been dissolved in the hot water. So you are not two different people. So the conflict comes with identity and the definition of marriage. When individuals see themselves as individuals in marriage, they think of mine and his. But when you see yourself as one, then there is no separation of property or assets because you are one. So if you are one, why will I say that this is my car, this is my money? That's my understanding about marriage. So me seated here, I know that I'm one with my wife. So I cannot say if she understands marriage as I understand, shouldn't also say that this is mine. Okay, let's get the discussion further. With marriage, because after being one, you need to work together to physically manifest what has been done spiritually. There are roles assigned, or we decide on who does this and who does that. So the issue, as I'm saying, that when it comes to marriage, the oneness would make the property, the finances one. Because we have to leave the oneness, there should be an intentional effort so that it practicalizes our belief that we become one. So the practical aspect of becoming one is how we contribute towards the needs of the family. So that for me, I see marriage to be a place where you become selfless to you. I understand the whole purpose of marriage, like Christ dying for the church. That's me. So when it comes to this understanding, whenever there is a need for my wife, whenever there is a need for my children, I think of them even before my need.
But isn't that supposed to be how it is? Like Christ having that mentality in marriage, isn't that the way to go?
That's how it's supposed to be. But you realize that as we're speaking now, people have perception, but as we're saying that today is about the truth. And the truth that we need to know is that when you marry, you are one. And when you marry, you know, let's go further. You realize that marriage, it's an example of the relationship Christ has with his church. And Paul was true to say it, that husbands, you're supposed to love like Christ. And after everything, he says that marriage should be like the relationship that Christ has with his church. So if you want an example of what marriage should be, if you want an example of how Christ wants to relate to his church, then it should be how you marry your spouse. Okay. And when you read the Bible, Christ even says that we are co-heirs. Everything that my Father has given, I've also given to you. So I'm saying this in reference to our finances. That if I'm saying that I'm one with my wife, but I still say that this money is mine, then I should question the oneness. Because the oneness is that all I have is yours, all you have is mine. But as I was saying, in practice, we have to be intentional to make this particular belief or who we become manifest. And that's how we agree that, okay, you have some needs, I also have some needs. We have joint needs. So how do we finance these things together? That's why some we would recommend that, okay, some will recommend we have joint account to meet some needs. Some will recommend, okay, this one takes this particular set of needs. This also takes the other. But in summary, you are one. So whatever you financing, it should come from you. And no one should relent that this is my money, so I'm not giving it out. That's what I think about finance.
All right. Mrs. Sabua, I still want to talk about the finances. How do you set your priorities and your spending? They say mostly ladies spend a lot. And so how are you able to set your priorities right and your spending right that it won't cause chaos in the home?
Okay, so like Elder Isiako said, the moment you get married, the money is no longer yours. In my case, my husband knows whatever revolves in my account, whatever goes on, whatever comes in, and I know same for his side. So it's oneness from the start. We know that this month we are supposed to spend this much, or what expenses are pending. The very present ones, we find ways and means to settle them. And before that, after the titan, then we know which percentage we are setting aside for our investments, which percentage we are setting aside for just the general savings, and then for spending. So it's out of that that we pay this, settle this. If you are doing a project, you spend with that. And then normally for women, I would say that what I have realized after marriage, like from being single, most of the prime spendings is for the house.
It's for the house.
Yes. You pick money to buy something, and even when kids come in, a lot of times, like sometimes I take my time, I look at, I'm like, but you go and you realize that you were actually spending, but not for yourself. Groceries for the home, things for the kids, a few beneficiaries here and there. So that's what has actually helped me. And in everything, there is utmost transparency. He knows that I'm spending this. I know that he's spending that. So that you don't give room for your spouse to sit back and start assuming, Onya Sikebi free baby, on can't me. And now is she getting something from somewhere and she's not telling me? When there is utmost transparency, he knows that this is going here, that is going there. And like we initially said, peace would reign. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Please, I want to indulge you that if you have a question, you can let us have it. And your questions are more important to us than even the questions here. So when you bring out a question, we will pause ours and we'll really ask your question. We are also joined by Mrs. Akosia Prempe Esiako. So we will get back to her later, but she will talk to us about what her husband has said. You will all hear from her. And so, Mrs. Ahenkan, what is the difficult aspect of your finances at home? What has been the difficult aspect? Is it about only the children, or is it about the disagreement when you want to buy this for yourself and you say, you sit down, also we're playing way home? What happens?
Thank you very much. I think for when it comes to finances in every sphere of our life, it's very challenging. Sometimes it's women who normally withhold our monies. Always want to totally depend on men for everything. To the extent that, oh, there's no salt, go to your daddy. Go and tell him there's no salt. In fact, that is not the best. But one day I sat down and I really looked into why sometimes these challenges. Before I moved to my house, I was living in some quarters where we have various couples, we have medical people with their wives, lawyers, my husband and I, police woman and the husband and all. So we were different couples that were living in the house. And sometimes you could see the disagreement coming from finances, where most of the time men feel burdened and women are not ready towards support. It's very, very, very bad. To the extent that sometimes the men will come to us telling us their financial problem. And you say, oh, I will pray for you, God will do it. Meanwhile, you have money somewhere for which you could have supported your husband and saved him from danger. And I realized that it starts from our relationship time. When a man sees a woman, at that point, he wants to please he wants to please her on every side. So, oh, I have a problem. Oh, I've sent you Momo. Now, Momo has spoiled the whole thing. But when I saw my husband, we didn't have Momo. If we had Momo then, pa, he would have suffered. It pains me, pa. For example, when you ask for money, your husband has to walk and bring it to you. And you know that because of the inconveniences in our relationship, we're not asking for money. Because if you need money to buy ring, he has to come to you. You, to that time, you are keeping it from your parents. How can he come to your house? So we were at disadvantage. But for this, they are in their room, 10,000, and they are enjoying. So when they marry, then the 10,000 will not come again. The 2,000 will not come again. Why? Because now the household expenditure have increased. You need to buy at least basic needs. What hurts me the most when it comes to all expenses has to do with the sanitaries, washing powder, soaps. Before you realize, you go to Conti supermarket, 500 cedis, 1,000 cedis, Clean Sotomo 5 kg, Dettol, Parazone, T-Roll. Before you realize, 1,000 cedis is just gone. And imagine I'm a family of 7. Every 2 days I wash. So when I buy 5 kg, it takes me less than 2 weeks. So imagine the dishes. In chance in I said, this is just no expenses. So when you are single, but when you marry, look at a family of 7. And before you realize, the children have also poured some away free. So the challenges, in fact, are coming from different directions. Especially in our time that we also want to grow further. We want to have a lot of things in our life. You see, our parents were building at age 50. Now, at 35, we are living in our own houses. Look at the pressure. School fees, look at the pressure. Now, the madams, our teachers are not also helping. Any holiday, they will tell the students, when you come, we'll tell your parents for holidays. You are there, mommy, let's go to mall. Let's go to mall. I see when you go to mall, it's free. Let's go to SG. You see, it's not like you've intentionally. But when they even meet together, just this week I was bored. My child came when they reopened school. I bought him new bottles. And when they went to school, their first address, during vacation, what did you get? Some say I had new dress, I had this. And they said they had new bottles. And their friends were laughing at them. So when they came, they are on my neck to get them a new dress. So that when they go to school, they will tell their friends that mommy and daddy are giving us a new dress. 2 weeks vacation, you want a new dress. We've passed Easter. What again do you want a new dress for? So these are the financial challenges that every parent will testify that we go through. Every couple will tell you we go through. But women, let's support our husbands. Some of us will receive more than even our husbands. Let's support them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Esiako, welcome.
Thank you.
So we want to know from your side, is marriage work? A yes or no?
Yes.
It's work. Is it the work that will continue unabated? Is there a time that the work will come to an end and we will be enjoying?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
We can hear you. Can you hear?
I don't believe so. Yeah.
You don't believe so? So we are working till we die?
Yes. It's a lifelong commitment, so.
Oh. So we'll be. I want to know if I've married for about 10 years now. Can't there be a time that I'll be enjoying from the work I've done? Because I've worked for about 10 years. Can't there be a time that I have to enjoy the fruit of my labor? That everything will be flowing as it's supposed to be. There will be no hedges and things will be flowing. Can't there be a time like that?
I believe, before that, I want to apologize for coming late. I had to attend to some issues. But what I believe is you can get to that point where you can rest. But I'm sure it's going to be much later, okay? Because right now that we have children and then grandchildren come in, it's still work, all right? So you might get to that point, but it's going to take time. It wouldn't be immediate, yes. It will take years before you finally get to a point where you think you can rest from the work, yes. That's
So
what I think.
you are saying that we will even rest when we are around 90 years?
Maybe not up to 90 per se, but it will be later on, much later in life, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So if you have something to say, you can.
Hello.
So, is there a time that you rest? For me, the answer is no. Looking at the experience that I have received from my parents. When you marry, as I said earlier, for every stage is work. Then at one point, you see, the unrest comes from different direction. Your child is now in secondary school. Before you realize, oh, he or she is sick, the person will come home. Later, you've grown, you've passed university, you've married. When you marry to the wahala, comes back to your parents, what, again? So you are going to work till. And when you get to that age, what again? Then maybe your children have grown, they've married, they've given birth, grandma duties. Then grandma duties, you are done with it before you realize maybe your partner is also aging and it comes with some chronic ailments. That you are supposed to also support that person. So the rest will only come maybe when we die today, say that place too, there's no rest. So I believe that for resting, you are not going to rest, but just that we have breaks. There are times we have snack breaks for a short moment.
You have what? Snack break?
Snack breaks in marriages. You rest more, then the main thing comes in. Amen.
Amen. So as I said, if you have any question, we are ready to receive them. You give them to the King Gideon, he will give it to us.
Okay, so from our side, okay, we are 3 years, we are young, so maybe our point will not. So for the work, I'll take the work in terms of maybe working, building the foundation for communication, building the foundation for financial management. Now, it's difficult, we are working. But when you build the foundation, how to communicate, how to know what to tell your partner, what your partner is expecting, over time, it gets easy. That part gets easy. So I think that's where the rest comes in. Even though still, there will be some things that you would have to work on, but it will not be as difficult as the beginning when you're getting to know each other. So I'll take it from that side. After building the foundation, then the rest comes in. Okay.
So,
Circle, let me
I
add
will-
something to your question before you answer. It looks like you're making it look like if you're not married, what all? Like you are okay, there's nothing, there's no burden. Is it totally like that?
So I will answer that, but before then, I would want to push in this that the burden of work in marriage depends on the choices you make in your marriage. So that, for instance, if we seated here, we decide to build a 10-story building as what we aspire to do, that means we need to take extra works. That means we need to take off some sleep. That means we need to find people who take care of the children. So the choices we make in our marriage will define the burden of work we have. So for instance, if we are okay that we marry, we stay in a boys' quarters, and we're not so quick to do the boys' quarters, we've calculated our money. Boys' quarters, when we save 1,000 cedis every month, when you give ourselves 20 years, we can do that. You realize it? So it's the expectations and the choices we make in the marriage that determine or defines the burden of work that we have in the marriage. Please, are we getting it? So work in marriage can be measured by the choices we make. So with some of these discussions, what we want to bring to mind is that certain choices we make, certain expectations will influence what kind of work you do in your marriage. And that should also really help us put in perspective what our choices will be when we marry and the kind of work we expect to do. So that the higher the work, it will be determined by the choices you make. Let me just give an example, just a practical example. I'm the sugary person, the snacking person. If I decide to make that choice, it will come to a time where I have to battle with my health or spend money or time doing exercises and all that. This is so practical. So if I decide to continue to do the sugars, the biscuits, the bread, and not exercise and all those things, it will come to a time these choices will give me work to do in the marriage. And not only me, my wife would get work to do, my children will get work to do. So then we should know the choices we make. Every choice we make as single, as married person comes with implication. If I decide now that I want to do my master's or I want to do my doctorate, it will come at a cost and it will bring work to the family. Why? Because then I need to be absent in the parenting for a while. That means my wife would have certain work on her. My children will have my absence, so it's work. But that work, now who calls them? It's my choice. So I'm just trying to say that marriage comes with work, but the work that is supposed to be done in marriage is determined by the players in the marriage.
All right, so your work is by your choice. What you choose to do will bring you the work. Okay, so I asked about whether singles do not work. They don't have any work.
You know, the truth is, I'm sorry, maybe it wasn't directed to me, but let me answer. The truth is, the work you even do in marriage is determined by the choices you make as a single person. You understand? The work you do in marriage, it's basically determined by the choices you make as a single person. So most of the work should be done as a single person, even before you marry. So that when you don't do that work as a single person, it will await you in marriage. You cannot skip that. So that, for instance, let me just give certain examples then just to make it practical. I'm very, very prudent when it comes to investment, but I'm very, very undisciplined when it comes to expenditure. Okay, let me open up that. when I get money, the first thing I think of is investment. When she has money in her account and I know, I'll invest it. When you see her talking about finances, then I've gone into any of her accounts and I've seen that there is money seated there. Then I'll call her, oh, my AT bill, 91 days amount, and now my say, when money is there, I won't think of expense. But when I carry money on me and Marion needs it, I'll give it to her. When I carry money on me and I'm going to buy one phone and I go and I see that, oh, she needs a phone, I'll buy it. Or I know that when I buy in bulk, I can make some saving. Even if it's not a pressing need, I'll buy. You understand? And for that, I've not been able to work on, I wasn't able to work on even as a single person. And I brought it, the accountant will say, brought forward. Balance brought forward. And I've brought it in my marriage. And in my marriage, we need to work on it. So now, what do? I don't have the right in my marriage to do purchases. She does it. I do the financing because if I go, the things I'll bring, you understand? And it's cost to the marriage. So what I'm saying is that if there is a discipline that you need to have as a single person to make you effective tool in your marriage, this is the time for you to do it. And it starts with acceptance. I always say that marriage, to become effective, it starts with acceptance. I've given these examples over and over again. For me, I'm very spontaneous. I can decide that I'm going to Accra and I'll stop about 10 times in that journey. Whenever I see that there is something that's interesting, I'll just stop. Do it. As and when I feel like doing, I'll do it. My wife is Catholic, discipline, schedule. I'm so sure that next week, whatever she is going to the market to buy is written down with the prices. I'm not joking, no. She writes it
With the
put
price.
the price. Whatever, you know.
So when you go and the price has increased, what does she do?
Is that?
When she goes and the price has been increased, what does she do?
That's my spontaneous. That's what makes me spontaneous. I'll think the way you think it. Now but she should write it down. My wife wakes up with an alarm. For the past 8 years we've been married, she wakes up with an alarm. I don't do that. You see the difference? So, me accepting that, no, this is something that is a weakness, would let me appreciate her strength. You understand? But if I don't accept who I am, it will become conflict. Why? Because I don't know why I don't wake up with an alarm, but your alarm should wake me up. But if the alarm wakes her up, we are able to do things on schedule. But if you as a single person, you've not accepted that, no, this thing about me is not good. It will even not make you make the right choice. I always say that my wife, is the best choice for me. Because looking at, you asked me how do I balance all these things. It's because I have her as a center. She is a schedule person, so she will schedule you. So I've learned how to schedule. I've learned how to say no if my schedule is up. First, framing. Oh, may. Oh, give me time, I'll do it. So you have lots of things to do. But she will tell you that if it's not scheduled, why do you have to do it? Why do you have to do it? So I'm just trying to say that as a single person, the advantage now you have is to prepare yourself, groom yourself, is to be truthful about who you are, truthful about your needs. It will even influence the choice of person you marry. And that will lessen the burden of work in your marriage. If you don't do it now, it will be brought forward to marriage. And you need to work on that in the marriage.
Thank you very much. I sincerely believe that with singleness there is work. but just that we push the work forward. We don't want to work on it. Some of us believe that I know that this character is no good, but I'll work on it. But the truth is that when you marry, you won't change, because when you marry, you also want to feel the independence of your life. As our sister Vic was saying, when you marry, you become so dependent, like it becomes a burden. So when you worry, that is when you want to also feel free. The freedom that you want to enjoy comes with how you were before. And so how you were before, if it's not good, that's what you bring it in. And as he said, you bring it in that the man or the woman that you brought in has to work with you. And so you bring in a job for them to do. So if marriage is work, it is the work you bring that we work. If you don't bring any work, we are not working. So what you bring from your singleness is what we work on. If you have nothing for us to work on, we enjoy. And that's what I was saying, that it could be, it's not that it could be unabated, but there be
Do you know the sad truth? If you are here as a single person and you don't lay your bed, if you marry, you won't lay. If you don't arrange your shoes, you won't arrange your shoes. If you don't fold your clothes, when you marry, it's the same. The only difference is that now you have someone who is seeing you not laying your bed, not arranging your shoes.
You have a witness.
And that is a bother to the person. So now you have someone who is always reminding you that you've not done that, you've not done that, you've not done. That's the only change. But if you don't work on it now, it will transition to marriage. And it becomes work because now you're not living alone. So there is someone that your choices is creating discomfort. And she wouldn't want you to create that discomfort. So she'll talk about it and it becomes an issue.
Okay, Lady Marion, I want to know, is there a time in your life as a wife that you have to let go everything, like everything you felt that you stood for, so that the marriage will work?
To some extent.
You said what?
To some extent. Yes, so we are not long in marriage, but before I got married, I was doing my master's. Yes. And I planned that it was supposed to take a 2-year period. After marriage, I got pregnant. Kids came in. I'm the type who, before marriage, the moment I'm done with something, I need to find another thing to do. So my life was, especially in the area of career and my academics, it was very progressive, like at a very fast. So pausing to have the baby, nurse the child, was a big blow for me. It just came as a shock. Yeah. So once I was even telling someone that I think young ladies, especially when you are single, mothers in the career field or who are exposed to academia and all that, should teach us some of these realities, so that you don't get married and you are like, hey, into my school, no found to hokakra, hey, Then in our case, his schedule, he training, I had to sacrifice. And already even your current condition will not permit you to have the freedom to just be reading and doing all that. So I had to compromise, like being laid back, so that he could focus and concentrate on his training. In a way, it was even a burden for him, because sometimes too, in the period of pregnancy, you need your spouse and all that, but there were times where there had to be some compromise. So in my case, I had to put the master's on hold, though I was done with my thoughts. The research delayed like unduly to me. Looking at someone who, like when you're single, you had a plan, you had a schedule, you knew that after this, you are going to do this, you are going to do that. There were times I remember when I was pregnant, like I would break down emotionally, and I'll tell him, I said, then he will encourage me and go like, it's not that you are not doing anything, you are nurturing a baby. You are building someone else to come into the world. So this is more like a period. I remember one time, even when I was pregnant, I was pursuing my course. I wanted to charter in taxation. So I had started the class. It got to a time when you get to the classroom, you have to step out to go and throw up. Then I realized it started taking a toll on me. Then another complication came up. So then I had to just give it up and say that, look, just relax. I remember one time, in August, they were writing a paper. During the first, that was 2022. Yeah, they were writing a paper in August. I told my dad, oh, I wanted to go and write. I was like, madam, take care of the pregnancy. When you are done, you can go back and do it. So there are times where you would have to compromise. You would have to be laid back. Then later, you go and pick up everything and then continue. The most important thing is you don't lose the drive for your dream. Yeah, especially as a young woman. You don't lose the drive for your dream because at a point, as you are taking care of other things, definitely you lose focus on the other side, the thing you initially started. Then you start getting used to becoming used to your new schedule. And if you don't take care, when that period ends, going back to pick up what you left behind will become a challenge. So the most important thing is be focused. You have a focus. There are times where you would have to take a break for other things to unfold. But when you are done, beat yourself up, get out of that comfort you've built for yourself now, and go back to pick whatever you left behind, and then you continue. That's when you can make progress and juggle both areas. Thank you.
Thank you. A question? Okay. So I want to ask Mrs. Ahenkan, when you were talking, you used to talk about when the children comes in, they work, you do this. Does it mean that it is the children that bring you the work? And when there is no children, you don't work?
Thank you very much. So the work comes from diverse ways. Sometimes if you're working on your partner, for some characters, it's a work on itself. Ukunu kura esuni bambi anase oyiri esuni ne bambi eye adwuma. There's some attitude you have consistently. You have to advise. You have to talk to him or her. Sometimes you even take to God in prayer. And that alone is work. How we even manage the home. You see, we are from different backgrounds and we've come together. So, and marriage is so interesting that what one is weak in, so that's where someone also finds his or her was strength. For me, when I get angry, irrespective of who we are, I will just bombard you. And my husband is extremely quiet. You will talk, you will not say anything. And I will be shaking him. Say something. You can't be quiet. Express yourself to me. I've expressed myself, and he will just be there looking at you. So imagine if he was also like me, what will happen? Then the next thing, maybe I've gotten that big ball on my forehead or something. And that is how it is, you see. So the work itself is not only about the children, just that they spice it up. But when they come, then the stress becomes overwhelming. Now, whilst I'm here, I'm receiving WhatsApp messages, how they are being. So my attention is somehow divided because what is also happening is their fight, they are talking to them, mommy is not around, so they are not stopping. You get it? So the stress comes from everywhere, and the challenge comes from diverse ways. Sometimes just a little thing, paste, but could be out so they be straight. One will just press in the middle thumb. Do you get it? That alone brings stress. I don't like it this way. Before me, one thing I don't like is keeping slippers around because of the issue I have. It can easily slip me off. For over the years that I had issue with my leg, my husband is aware of it. Yet, you can one of the shoes just by the door. over so many years. And he knows my situation. For how long will you nag as a wife? So anytime I see it, I will just pick it to its right direction. And when he himself realized that it's getting frustrating, then he stopped. So the work, so just little things. Little things. Oh, don't hang your singlet before you realize it's hanging. Your shoes, don't put it there before you realize it's there. You also tell you, oh, the bed, before you realize, though I have shoe rack, when I have book rack, when I read through of, oh, this is just three reading books, let me just put it at the bedside. And you will come, you also feel uncomfortable. You put it there. So it's always back and forth. But marriage, that makes it more interesting. And that is why we receive our certificate before we start our schooling. So it has been like that. Every couple year goes through one stressful moment or the other. It could be